Hi guys, welcome back to The Forgetful Scholar. It's 2 books this week and it's Past Lives and Doughnuts. And I realized I got a question recently, why do I make my own titles for these books? It's because that's what my brain associates. Like that's the standout thing for me that my brain kind of associates for these books. So that's why. So when I look at them on my shelf, I'll be like, oh, that's the Past Life one. Oh, that's the one about that's obsessed with donuts. Oh, that's the shoe one where she was wearing that scene with the cute shoes. You know, that's why I do that. So this week, let's talk about Past Lives. And this was 4-star FM historical romance. Borderlining on the paranormal, but not really. I think this was written in the 90s. Yes, 1995. So around that time, I've noticed in older romance novels, like the historical romance queen writers, you know, like, it seemed at that time they were trying to incorporate like paranormal elements into their stories. Like, I can remember one vague one. I might have to reread that one. Johanna Lindsay, and there was this like cursed sword that had like, no, the Viking was cursed to live in the sword, like a genie, and it was time traveling. That was a weird one. So this kind of time period in romance novels, it seemed like the reigning queens of romance tried their hand in a little paranormal element. So this one is Past Lives, and this is Prince of Dreams by Lisa Kleypas, 4-star. Prince of Dreams. So the title is probably the closest to making sense that I have seen so far with Johanna Lindsay. So good job, because he is a Russian prince and he dreams. He kind of goes into like a coma for like an hour and has like dreams of his past life where he lived like months and months. So yeah, as like Lisa Kleypas's, I said Lisa Kleypas, right? Prince of Dreams, right? I'm sorry, it's been a week. So yeah, he's a prince that has a dream. So good job, Lisa Kleypas. The title makes marginally sense, a little bit more than it normally does. So the Russian prince is Nicholas, and Emma is the British lady that he's like, you know, he likes. The thing is, he's a Russian prince on exile, and you find out why. He murdered somebody, and I'm like, when you find out the reason, I'm like, good for you. I would do the same. Cool. Not that I'm saying murder is good. I'm not. His reasons were valid, right? And he was tortured for it. So he's got a lot of trauma, a lot of, you know, he's kind of the classic, and this is 1995, so it makes sense that he was the classic broken, stoic, I have no emotions left, brooding romantic lead. Like, I get it, you know? I get it. And Emma, I really liked Emma's character. She was very different for a lady of the ton. She was taller than every other girl, so I'm thinking like 5'10", 5'11", always made fun of. She wasn't classically pretty. She was more interested in taking care of her menagerie of animals that were abused, all kinds of animals. It's really interesting. She's a vegetarian for the time. Fascinating. She works with like a charity, like the 1800s version of the Humane Society, I believe, and PETA, I believe. So like she's very strong-willed, very stubborn, and love it or hate it. Like sometimes her stubbornness annoyed me, but love it or hate it, she was consistent, and I like that. And I liked how she slowly grew to let Nicholas into her heart. You know, Nicholas wanted her since she was 13. I don't know how I feel about that. That's a little young. It's a little gross. But like, let's be past that. you know, he maneuvers things so they have to get married. So they get married pretty early in the book, about page 100. And I was like, whoa, is the rest of the book going to be boring? Because what's going on here? The rest of the book is not boring. I think the most boring part is leading up to their marriage. And then holy moly, does it get crazy. So, you know, because he was tortured and everything, he's a tortured soul. You know, he's realized he's starting to fall in love with her. So he does something that I hate in romance novels. Like, normally when this happens, I stop reading the book. I'm happy I kept reading it. And the only reason I kept reading it because Brandy Reed says, you know, it's one of her faves. So like, okay, it's one of her faves. Let me keep reading. Just let's keep going. So the part that I usually stop in romance novels is when one of the people in the main couple cheats. I'm out. Being cheated on sucks and I'm out. Like, my heart broke for Emma. Like, I was like, oh man, this is so painful. I hate this. No, keep going, keep going, keep going. You know, maybe it gets better. And it does get better. But there are some things that I would have tweaked for this to be a 5-star personally for me. And I understand this is personal preference. And I get why he cheated. Because she was getting too close and he did the one thing that would push her away. I get it. It's still horrible. He has a bastard son he never saw that looks exactly like his younger brother that died, and he still, you know, misses him terribly. So he's through, like, and Emma just like, no, he's my stepson. He's part of this family. You're not sending him away. And that's the part where I really loved Emma, because I love when that happens. I'm like, yes, it's not that poor little bug's fault, you know? And she just completely took on the stepmom role, and she treats Jake wonderfully. And through Nicholas's eyes, you can see how much he wants to be with both of them, and how much, you know, he's keeping himself apart because it hurts, because, you know, he's just wallowing in his own trauma. I get it. And then he cheats, and I hate him. And she knows he cheats, and it breaks her heart, you know? And meanwhile, he's kind of having these weird deja vus when it comes to Emma, and he calls her Emmeline, because that was his ancestor, his great-great-grandmother's name, Emmeline. And it's sort of like a family story, the story of his great-great-grandmother and great-great-grandfather that he's named after, like their love story. So, you know, that's his cute little nickname for her. And they discover a painting that is of his ancestor with his same name. And he sort of has like an aneurysm coma collapse thing where he's like passed out for an hour. And he's not faking, because Emma like slaps him and throws water on him. Like, yeah, because this is after he cheats. So I do not blame her for being furious at him. Because you just, it breaks your heart. Like, it broke my heart. I was like, oh. Being cheated on sucks. This is horrible. I hate this. Keep going. Okay. All right. Anyway, because I love past life tropes. Unfortunately, I'm very picky with past life tropes, and I'll explain why. So he falls into a coma, and he lives months in his ancestor or past life self that he's named after. And he lets himself love Emmeline, his great-great-great-grandmother, you know, supposedly Emma's past life. And it goes through the whole thing, including like his ancestors' incarceration and stuff like that. And then he wakes up in the present, and he, you know, tries to be the man Emma deserves. He tries to love her. He's a great father to Jake. Like, he turns a 180. Emma has like one nightmare where she lives in Emmeline, sees the world from Emmeline's eyes after Nicholas's past self is captured. You know, she has one nightmare about it. See, the thing is, okay, let me finish synopsis and then I'll go into it. Okay, so, you know, because he effed up so bad, he tries to make it up to her, and they work past it, which is great. I don't have that kind of strength. Yeah, done. You know, but they work past it and they become happy. And then, typical Lisa Kleypas. I was like, okay, this is like closing up to the end of the book. All right, they're happy, you know, they're working out. It's a sweet ending. Then boom, oh, the doggo. And then boom, third act queen Lisa Kleypas come in with like her ex because she had a suitor before that was after her money, and Nicholas knew he was after her money, so he manipulated him to go away. And the thing is, if this guy really loved Emma, he would have fought for her, but he didn't. He just peaced out, right? So he ends up marrying an American heiress that he hates. So he blames Nicholas for everything. Nicholas and her father, because her father hated this guy and did not want her to marry him. So he blames everybody else except himself, except for the fact that he has no spine and didn't stand up for her. It didn't really love her. She realized she never really loved him. She was just insecure, and she loved how he made her feel, right? So the ex lures Nicholas into on her father's property, and using her father's gun, he's gonna shoot him, right? Emma comes, saves the day. It's a great ending, right? She screams out his past life name, which is just nearly identical to his, just the old-fashioned Russian name of Nicholas. And there's a happily ever after. And the thing is, I really love Nicholas in the beginning, because there's a scene in the first act where she's getting picked on by the mean girls. Like, they're really belittling her and making fun of her. And Nicholas is like the catch, because he's gorgeous and he's prince and he's wealthy beyond measure. So he's like the catch. And he hears this and he goes up to them and asks Emma for a waltz. And the head of the mean girl, the Regina George of this book, was like, oh no, wouldn't you rather dance with me? And he looks her up and down, dismisses her like she's nothing. Is like, absolutely not. And dances with Emma. And I was like, yes, I love him. Look at that. Look at putting those mean girls in their place. I love it. I absolutely loved it. And then he goes and cheats. And I get why he does it. But that's sort of a thing, personal preference in a book, romance book. I just, kills me. I'm happy I kept reading it. Brandy reads, you were right. It is a good book. It's just that part kills me. And I've read romance novels where the guy tries to cheat to keep a distance, isn't able to because he can't stomach the touch of another person. Besides the one he's in love with that he's trying to push away, and just leads the other person to believe that he cheated. I've seen that plenty of times, and I like that much better than the guy actually cheating, you know what I mean? So, the past life thing. I think it would have worked better for me, this personal preference, if Emma had dreams of her past life as Emmeline more. Like, maybe before she met him, when she was like a kid, she had a nightmare about him, and that's why she was always kind of, because she's always standoffish with him when you first open the book, when it's the beginning of the relationship. She's kind of very standoffish with him, even though they're sort of like really they're cousins, sort of. Like, he's sort of a very far like a third or fourth cousin to her stepmother, you know what I mean? So that would have been interesting, you know? Or have like, or when the book opens and she's, you know, going to be an old maid at 22, she has a dream of her life as Emmeline, and his life as his past. You know, just one dream before he passes out and lives the life with Emmeline, because it felt like he easily gave his love to Emmeline when he didn't give it to Emma. So it kind of felt, until she had the nightmare much later on, seeing the world through Emmeline's eyes, that like he, almost like we were watching him cheat again, because he was giving his love to this past woman and not to his current wife. And the only thing is they looked alike, because their personalities were not similar, like, at all. So they looked alike, you know what I mean? And that was kind of it. And I was like, oh man, he cheated, now we're watching him cheat again. This sucks, you know? That feeling went away when later on Emma had the nightmare of Nicholas's past self being imprisoned by the Tsar. So I was like, okay, so it is her past life too. Okay. I would just, if it was before he had his dream, I think that would have been, it wouldn't have been like, so like, oh, are we watching him cheat? Why can't he love Emma like this? Come on. And it didn't even take him very long to let Emmeline into his life, you know? So I was like, like, what the hell? So I think if I could, I would just change that and change. I mean, I guess keep in that he cheated. I don't know. I get why he did, but I hated it. That's just personal. But I think the past life for me would have worked better if Emma had a dream of her own of that past life before Nicholas passes out. Because before he passes out, he has a lot of deja vus about that life. So if she had like one deja vu, I'd be like, okay, it's her past life too. And I think if Emmeline and Emma's character was a little more similar, then again, I'll be like, okay, you know, so just tiny little tweaks for me that would turn this into closer to a 5-star. But it's a 4-star, and I did enjoy it. It's just, it like broke my heart. In the middle of this book, my heart broke. Like, I was just like, oh, ow, I'm reading this for happy feels, not like break my heart feels. What are you doing, Lisa Kleypas? Fix this. And they did, but still. Okay. The next one is Donuts in My Head. So this is a contemporary cozy mystery. Dim Sum of All Fears, a noodle shop mystery. Book 2 by Vivien Chien. Now, I really like the first one, and I really like this one. This is a 4-star for me. It's a continuation of Lana Lee and her working at the noodle shop where she doesn't want to work. Done. No. So this is a couple weeks after the first book where the estate manager that she's known all her life was murdered, and she was held at gunpoint. What I like about this is that she doesn't brush off that she was held at gunpoint because she's a real person. You know what I mean? She's not an action hero. She's not a cop with a lot of experience. I think even cops with a lot of experience would have problems, you know, with have issues with a gun being pointed at their head, right? So she's been having nightmares. You know, she's not getting good night's sleep. She doesn't want to talk about being held at gunpoint. You know, she's trying to get a job outside the noodle shop, but her parents have to go to Taiwan and they leave her in charge, which pisses off her older sister. Okay, her older sister that's in law school and is like, I should be in charge. And I'm like, but you don't have time. Like, what do you mean? And you're not working at the noodle shop. Really? She kind of does, the older sister kind of does part-time here and there, you know, if they need somebody. And Lana and the very handsome detective Adam, what's his last name? Adam, what was his name? Trudeau, I think? Adam Trudeau. They started dating. So in the first book, you kind of got that they liked each other, you know, and this one, they're dating. They've been on like 3 dates and they're taking it slow. Also, you know, he's not letting her in, so she's getting kind of disgruntled or disappointed because like she would ask a question and he's not really like opening up to her and she just wants to know about him. So she's like, oh, maybe he's not that serious. He does apologize later for that and tries to be more open. Now the thing is, I'm not judging this on the romance aspect of this book because although cozy romances tend to have a romantic aspect, I treat that as like a very secondary, 3rd, 4th story point. It's not the main thing. The main thing is the mystery, right? And when there's a murder again next door, it's a double homicide, and it really hits close. Because the first one, she knew him, the first Mr. Fung, when he died, she known him his whole life, sort of like a distant kind of uncle figure, you know, not really close. Person who dies next is a very young person and her close friend. So Isabel and her husband are murdered next door. And Isabel, these last couple of weeks, have formed a really close friendship with Lana with their love of mystery books, you know, and stuff like that. And her husband has been leaving her with the shop and disappearing on errands. And so Lana doesn't really like him, which I don't blame her because she's like, he's gone all the time and girl, you gotta go to the bathroom. I'll like wash the shop. You go pee or whatever, or take your lunch break. You know, like Lana's a very sweet person. I do like in this book that she's still a bit of a pushover. Because the first one, she was very much a pushover. In this one, she's still a pushover. I think it's just part of her personality where she's like, oh, there's no use in arguing. It's just easier to go along with it. And, you know, I'm happy that that's a consistent character trait. Not one I particularly have, but that's okay. We're all different people, right? And I mean, it would annoy me if it wasn't consistent, but so far in the 2 books, it's been consistent. So there we go. So there's a double murder right next door. And she's sort of kind of not wanting to get involved with it, but she kind of sort of ends up getting involved with it. I like the way that happened because she's clearly just a person. She's not a private eye. She's not all this. And it's not the same reason as last time where she thought Adam was a jerk and not really giving it the potential, not really looking at the case as hard as he should. And like they thought her friend Peter, who's in this book and he's really a cool guy, did it. You know what I mean? So this is a little different. She gets pulled in by 3 different people to figure this out. And Ian was in the first book, liked her, and he's still a dick in this book and still likes her. But at least he knows now that she's dating somebody. Doesn't seem to stop him from like, let's go on that dinner date when this is all finished. And she's like, nope. Anyway, she's like, she changed the subject. or I think the conversation ended, but I was like, girl, say no. All right. Still consistent with the character that doesn't want to be in conflict, so it's fine. Isabel's husband had 2 ex-wives that are sort of suspects. He also had a major gambling problem. So the loan shark, or this mystery guy that turns out later to be a loan shark, suspects. I thought it had to be one of the... When it came to suspects, I thought it was one of the 3 that they put in. Oh my gosh, this is so complicated to say without spoiling because it is a mystery. Okay, so for me, I was like, oh, it's either 3 of these people. And yes, it was one of those people. And then when the murderer is revealed and I looked back at all the little clues, I was like, oh, that's well placed. See, that's what I look for a mystery. When the villain is revealed, if I could go back into the story and think of all the clues that were laid out, and I'm like, oh, that's really good. But if a mystery, like the villain is revealed and I think back to the story and like there's no clues or just like one tiny clue that was barely there, then I get upset. Then I don't think it's a good mystery. This was a good mystery. I had a lot of fun. And once again, made me freaking hungry for Chinese food. Descriptions of the food in this book is just like making me so freaking hungry all the time. I'm telling you. Anyway, so I really am enjoying the Noodle Shop mysteries. I have to go get some more. As I don't know if you could tell, but on my TBR shelf, there's only like 1 book left. And on my mystery TBR shelf, there's only 1 left. So there's probably going to be a book haul eventually. Probably this month there's going to be a book haul. So I'll look forward to that, I guess. So I had fun. Both books were 4 stars this week, which I needed. It's been a hell of a week. But I don't want to. It's time for me to get back to the real world. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye.